There's one game that changed everything for me, The Settlers 2. So today I'm going back to my beginning, what I saw, why I had to buy it, and whether it still has the same magic now. If you enjoy building worlds that function based on your design, The Settlers 2 is one of the games that laid the foundation for that. Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to Tales Down Memory Lane, where today I'm going to introduce you to a fantastic game and share some of my memories, stories, and experiences with it. Today we're diving into The Settlers 2, a game that has a special place in my heart, but also a game that helped define the visible economy style. At its core, it's a settlement builder, where your goal is to create an economy that functions smoothly. The gameplay is all about building production chains, seeing your settlements grow as everything works in harmony. What makes The Settlers 2 stand out though is how it makes the economy visible right in front of you. It feels alive. It's the kind of game where you can actually see the world doing its thing, and that's what hooked me from the start. You start small, and then you build up your production chains, so raw resources turn into useful goods. You place buildings and connect them, and your settlement grows as your workers do their jobs, keeping everything moving. And the main objective? Well, it's kind of to expand. You grow your settlement and you improve your efficiency of your economy, but you push your borders outwards and buy military buildings near the edge of your territory. If there's enemy factions on the map, that expansion becomes a contest for land and resources, and eventually control of the map. At its core, Settlers 2 sits somewhere between city building and real-time strategy, but it does not feel like most RTS games, none of that frantic clicking around. This is about building a settlement that works. The game was released in 1996 and was made by Blue Byte, a German studio that also made Albion, and they were behind the Battle Isle strategy series, and they became known for strategy and system-heavy PC games in that time. That context matters because it explains why Settlers feels the way it does. It's built by a studio that's very comfortable making slower, deeper games. It also came out at a time where games didn't hold your hand. You had to figure things out for yourself by experimenting and learning. That sense of discovery is part of what shaped these games. While today's games often offer tutorials and hints, the Settlers games made you engage with it and work out the systems as you go. If you didn't build the sawmill and you didn't have any wood to build the sawmill, you then didn't have any more wood to make the sawmill that you needed the wood for in the first place. And the thrill wasn't just in winning, it was in figuring out the right way to do the economy and overcome some of those challenges. And for me personally, overcoming those challenges, turning the tide of your settlement, that was incredibly rewarding. Also for me, it hit at a perfect time. Up until that point, I'd mostly been doing puzzle games and racing and sports and platformers especially. I'd not really experienced games that had planning and flow and long-term decisions. So when I first saw The Settlers 2, it didn't feel like another game. It felt like a whole different kind of game, and it really was. Time for a quick detour because this matters. I saw Settlers 1 first, not Settlers 2. Now looking back, Settlers 1 feels like an early concept, like a foundation of the settlement building. It seems to lack a bit of the polish and a bit of the pull that Settlers 2 had. So for me, Settlers 1 is important, but more as a stepping stone. It set the groundwork, but Settlers 2 for me is where the formula seemed to come right together, and it's why this one matters so much in my own gaming life. So how did I find out about the Settlers and what got me started? I can clearly still remember it. I can see it in my mind that I was at my friend's house visiting, and in their room they had on a coffee table an Amiga, and on that Amiga they were playing Settlers 1. I sat there and watched them play the Settlers 1, and I can still remember the little people walking around, the resources moving around the map. I was captivated by this, completely hooked. I loved seeing the little people walking around the map and doing their jobs and everything slowly expanding and growing. So when I got home and found out that Settlers 2 was available for the PC, I couldn't help it, I had to get hold of it, and I played it for quite a while around 1997 until Settlers 3 came out. Visually, it is pixel art, but it has a really nice balance. It's kind of half real, but also half cartoon, has plenty of saturation to kind of overcome the lack of pixels and the resolution from the time. It's clear and warm and I think full of character. And that soundtrack as well, I remember it still, being gentle and inviting, but also quite jolly in places, which I think fit the game perfectly. It's the kind of music that makes you want to stay in the world and just keep building. For me, it was always a solo game. I didn't use any cheats or mods, no custom setups, and I mostly played the scenario maps rather than pushing deep into the campaign. In fact, I never really got that far in the campaign at all, maybe 2 or 3 missions in. And I didn't actually play Settlers 2 for that long, because as soon as I saw Settlers 3 coming, I had the classic young gamer logic of, ooh, that must be better, I'll jump in and buy that. But even with that, Settlers 2 still left its mark. The biggest challenge for me back then was understanding what was really going on. If you didn't properly read the manual, the game could feel hard. And I learned pretty quickly that you can't just guess your way through it. A full understanding only came once I sat down and read through things properly, sometimes more than once. Because Settlers is a game about planning and flow, if your sawmill is too far away from the woodcutter, everything can starve. It's also about getting the ratios right, placing things in the right locations, making sure the settlers and resources can move efficiently. And when that comes together, the reward is massive. And I don't really have one specific memory from it, but I can always see the little people on the paths moving the resources backwards and forwards between the buildings. A whole web of resource management happening right in plain sight. And what kept me coming back was how many different ways you could approach it, depending on the geography of the land and the way that the mission was being played out. And in this game, even the military side of things felt deeper, because it wasn't just more money equals more troops. There were so many different things that had to come together in order to make your military successful. It was because of all of this that the Settlers 2 wasn't just another game for me. It was a turning point. Up until then, it was those puzzle games and platformers. But this game pulled me into the world of strategy and simulation. The more I played, the more I realized how much I enjoyed designing these systems that would work and come together, and the interest didn't stop with Settlers 2. It opened my eyes to the entire genre. After that, I started chasing that feeling in other games, whether that was SimCity or Transport Tycoon, or even more modern city builders, strategy games, and even things like Factorio today. If it wasn't for the Settlers 2, I might have missed the entire genre. I recently revisited the Settlers 2 during my Trips Down Memory Lane live streams, the sister series to this video series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I did have a lot to relearn because I'd forgotten it all, it had been so long, but once I remembered how it worked and how things connected, the old satisfaction feeling quickly returned. That UI wall was difficult to get around, but it was alright. There's an excellent game underneath. If you want to try the Settlers 2 now, it's still very possible, but the best experience depends on your tolerance for the old school UI and its setup. If you're happy with the classic interface, you can absolutely have a great time with it. Expect a little friction while you first learn the controls and rhythm, and if that old-fashioned thing puts you off, there are more modern entries into the series, and they might be a better first step. You could always come back to Settlers 2 later once you're in the groove. It could also be worth looking at Return to the Roots. It's an unofficial add-on for the Settlers 2. You still need the Settlers 2 Gold Edition in order to play this. It's something I'm going to take a look at in the future, because at the time of this video, the website says that almost all of the game's original features have been implemented, so it's not quite there yet. There were many sequels after this, and I would definitely like to cover Settlers 3 and the other ones that came after it at some point in the future. But Settlers 2 stands out because it made the settlement feel real, and you could see the work happening and the movement, and it set me on a direction for a genre that I have loved so much over the years. And that's why it's still worth talking about today. Even though the game was hugely important to me, I could admit It was difficult to play when I was younger. If you didn't commit to learning it properly, and tried, the game just kept pushing back, but those payoffs are worth it. I'd love to hear from you about what game first drew you into a brand new genre. Drop it in the comments along with any other thoughts, ideas or questions. If you've enjoyed this, consider subscribing for more, and check out the links on screen and in the video description for more fantastic trips down memory lane and other retro shenanigans. Thanks for watching, take care, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.